The Madman! Welcome to the custom Hearthstone cards of the week. We're caught up. This is the week of September 29th. Fresh off the presses, I'm so excited to see what the best custom Hearthstone has to offer. Spoiler, this week is especially poor. Let's get started with Fel Corruption. Quest, 1 mana, deal 30 damage to your hero, reward Ner'zhul. 10 mana, Ballad Cry, destroy the enemy hero. So basically, you win the game as long as you complete the quest, deal 30 damage to yourself so the opponent's damage to you doesn't help that. Through, and this is a surprise thing that breaks this quest, playing Crystallizer, which deals 5 damage to yourself and gains 5 armor. What if you played Glinda, and then you played Crystallizer 4 times? Then you deal 20 damage to yourself, and then gain 20 armor, which would be 20 out of the 30 credit for Fel Corruption. And then you would just have to have life tapped 5 times somewhere in between. Seems a bit too good. Fel Corruption design, 1 star. Didn't consider that, did you? Balance, 1 star. OP. Next up is a card that I had to change my mind around quite a bit on. Meerkat Hideout. 4 mana druid card, shuffle 7 1/2 Meerkats into your deck, and the Meerkat is a 2 mana 1/2, Ballad Cry, recruit all Meerkats, Death Rattle, shuffle all other friendly Meerkats into your deck. So it's a really big effect. Each time you play Meerkat, you're getting all the Meerkats out in the deck. So first time you play Meerkat after playing Meerkat Hideout, up to 714 worth of value. But each Meerkat is only as strong as the first Meerkat. So if the opponent manages to deal with 1 1/2 Meerkat, then all the Meerkats go back to your deck. So next time you play a Meerkat, you're getting 612 hours worth of value for 2 mana. But once again, if your opponent can just deal with a 2 health minion, then the rest gets shuffled in still. Is that too OP? Initially, I thought it was just going to grind out all the control decks, and it is at its strongest against a control deck. But I feel like control decks can just do an AoE, and that would kill all the Meerkats. So I think it's absolutely fine. It's a really interesting mechanic. It's very creative. I'm going to say 5-star design and 5-star balance. Big benefits for Druid if they can get Savage Roar or Branching Paths to hit after they play the Meerkat, if the opponent hasn't removed it. So from that perspective, a little bit dangerous, but I feel like if your opponent can't deal with a 2 health minion on turn 5, they probably do deserve to lose. Next up, Grabatron. 7 mana, 1 attack, 3 durability. After you attack a minion, shuffled into your deck. If you thought Entomb was good, how about 3 Entombs? For just 1 more mana, and the cost that you have to take damage when you attack the minion. Is that too overpowered when you consider that Super Collider is kind of like 3 mini Betrayals in 1, and Betrayal wasn't really that much of a played card, and it cost 2 mana? Like, this is actually a very relevant comparison. Super Collider was far better than expectations as a 5 mana 1/3, which betrayed light each time it attacked a minion. Grabatron is a better version of Entomb, which was played, and it only costs 1 mana more, unlike the 3 mana more. Like, I'll just be blunt, 10 mana for this card and it would still be too overpowered. But that's not to say that the idea isn't interesting. And maybe this isn't a warrior mechanic, maybe this is a rogue mechanic. It would be cool to push a type of control rogue. I'm going to give the design a 4-star just because I like the idea of attacking minions and shuffling them into your deck instead. I feel like that's a rogue mechanic to do, so perhaps you change the class of it. The balance is currently really insane. It's 1 star, it's way too overpowered. Would be too overpowered even at 10 mana, so I would be mainly suggesting probably raising the mana cost and lowering the durability. For Warlock, it's a 5 mana 3/3 Hellfire Spitter. Ballad Cry, deal 3 damage. If the target is your hero, deal 3 damage to all other characters too. This was commonly misread in the thread that this was posted on as that Hellfire Spitter would be a 3/3 and would Hellfire the board, but no, all other characters refers to your hero. The lovely part of pronouns in the English language, which was to say that Hellfire Spitter would kill itself. That's the intent. So I suggest rewarding it to, if target is your hero, deal 3 damage to all characters instead. So is this okay? It's either a 5 mana 3/3 that deals 3 damage to something as it comes into play, or it's a Hellfire that costs 5 mana. It's flexible, and choose one is kind of Druid's nature, but that doesn't mean other classes shouldn't be able to have choices. Druids can still be the king of choose one, but other classes can have sneaky ways to choose one. And I feel like this is well designed for a modular Warlock card. I like it. Design 5 stars, and I think a 5-mana 3/3 or the choice to just Hellfire for +1 mana isn't too imbalanced. It's flexible and it adds the mana to the cost for the flexibility. 5 stars on balance also. Maybe this will be the card that finally teaches people that yes, the minion does enter play first and then the Ballad Cry activates. For those of you who still don't know. Bane the Glorious! A glorious paladin legendary! 3 mana 1/2. Whenever an enemy attacks this minion, summon a 2/1 defender as the new target. It's a 1-card combo. Well, 2 cards kind of. It's a 1-card combo in the sense that Bane the Glorious never dies to anything other than spells. It can't die to minions. If anyone ever attacks Vayne, someone just gets down. Which is to say that if you taunt Vayne, and your opponent does not have a spell or a silence effect to get rid of it, then, and they're a minion-based deck, they just lose. That's insane! And that is unacceptable. Design 1 star, balance 1 star. AljunaibiiM, a druid 5-mana 4/4, which adapts when it enters play, which is kinda comparable to Verdant Longneck, but of course Omega cards are meant to be weaker if they were played without 10 mana. When you have 10 mana crystals, gain all 3 adaptations, which if you value adaptations at approximately +1/+1 apiece, is kinda like a 5-mana 7/7, which is just a little bit weak. You can also compare this with a Mega Defender, which is far better than the average result of AljunaibiiM. So AljunaibiiM is definitely too weak, but we're also going to talk about the design. And I enjoyed reading the Reddit thread comment on this, which had the top comment being, Trump is going to rate this 1 star because it uses a mechanic, Adapt, from an old set that won't be coming back. You're absolutely right, this card would never see print for 2 reasons. 1, I don't believe Adapt will ever be reprinted as a mechanic. That said, obviously some mechanics are going to be reprinted, such as Discover, such as Rush, such as Lifesteal, but Adaptation strikes me as a distinctly Ungoro type thing. But even past that, even if I'm wrong on Adapt, maybe Adapt could come back. I could see Adapt being a Hunter or a Druid mechanic, so I'm not really going to dock too many points off of design, or maybe even any points on design off of Adapt in the future. Omega is a mechanic that's never coming back, because that's specifically Boomsday, of if you have 10 mana crystals. I don't expect to see that around for a very long time, if ever again. Obviously I use a different rating system than others, but I rate design based off of, could this card actually see print in Hearthstone in the future? And given that Adapt is unlikely to come back, and 10 mana crystals, if, is almost never going to come back, almost certainly never, that's a design of 1 star. The balance I'm going to give 2 stars. I'm not entirely sure how I would make this card stronger, because lowering the mana cost to 4 would make it too strong. There's just the problem that the base is too strong and the bonus that you get for 10 mana is just too weak, because sometimes the adaptations don't go well together. What if you get Stealth and Taunt? What if you get plus attack and then Wind Fury and you end up with a 4 health minion? Like, Next up, Fell Imp for Warlock. 2 mana 3/3 demon. Ballad Cry. Discover a card from your deck and discard it. So, wow. This isn't even a downside. Maybe in Warlock a 2 mana 3/3 demon vanilla is okay. Maybe. This is better than that. It's a benefit to be able to thin your deck, get rid of the worst card that you see in 3. But that's not it. Like, if you actually discover a card that you want to discard, such as Silverware Golem or Clutch Mother Zavis, or Cruel Dinomancer, and then you can play your Cruel Dinomancer and it's like a 6 mana 5/5 that keeps respawning Cruel Dinomancer. That's absolutely insane. It's just not even close. I feel like discover a card from your deck and discard it might be an interesting text on a card. You could probably make it work, but certainly can't be put onto a creature, a minion with like good stats. The design I'm going to give 3 stars in the sense that I could see this text being interesting. The balance, I'm going to give this 2 stars. It's way overtuned right now. I think this should probably be a 2 mana 2/2, and then it would still be really dangerous. Might have to be a later game card with worse stats, just because this sets up the chance for too many crazy things to go into play. This is a joke card that was inserted in, high voted in, so I'll just mention it real fast. Studious Ogre, 3 mana, 4/3, 100% chance to attack the right enemy. Overeager Corgi, 3 mana, 2/2. When you draw this minion, put it onto the battlefield. Not quite patches in the sense of you have to actually waste your draw in order to get it, so you don't quite compare it to patches, you compare it with it's a 0 mana 2/2 when you draw it, and you have to instantly play it. Is that too strong? Yes, it is. In a world where Happy Ghoul has warped the entire build of Zoo to put in a bunch of healing cards just so you can play a 0 mana 3/3. Yes, a card that is a 0 mana 2/2 is way too strong when all you have to do is draw cards, which is something you do by default in the game. And Warlocks do twice as well as everyone else pretty much. +1/+1 on a Wisp does in fact make it super insane. Because it turns out that if you add 2 stats on a card that costs 0 mana, the result is ridiculous. Design, I'm going to give 3 stars on though, because I do feel like this could be retooled into something, and I'm not going to put that much work into it, but I think it creates an interesting card when you make this a 1 mana 2/1 instead, because then it's a slight buff on Wisp in that it's a 2/1 for 0. But you have to immediately play it, you can't hold it for strategic purposes. The balance I'm going to give 2 stars, even though all I'm doing is changing 1 health point off of it. That's a big difference. The fact that you can then kill it with a hero power, that's a big change. So that's why the balance is at 2 stars, despite it not being too big a change. Rogue Weapon, Hidden Knife. 2 mana 1/2, Ballad Cry, gain +2 attack this turn. A 2 mana 3/2, the turn you play it. And then after that, it's 2 mana 1/2, which makes it very comparable to Backstab, because you can always hero power and Backstab for 2 as well, essentially the same effect as Hidden Knife. But I think it's really fair, and it fits the rogue theme well. A pretty basic design, but I feel like it's a very sturdy design and hasn't really been explored before. I'll give it a 4-star design. Balance, 5 stars, right on point. Finally, for Shaman, interesting Prevalent Effect spell, which hasn't really been done before. 4 mana, gain 5 armor. Whenever you overload this game, gain 3 armor. The way that we typically see this being done is through a hero card, which will have the text on the hero. Because, and this is a big design concern, how will you otherwise remember the fact that every time you overload in the game, you gain 3 armor? And I posed this design question with chat, and they came up with a great idea that what needs to happen is that your hero portrait would have like a little bit of a glow around it. I know this all sounds ridiculous. It's like, is this too complicated to remember? And the answer is yes, it is. There should be some way to track that there's an ongoing effect. The problem is this card isn't in the Shaman class mechanics. Shamans aren't supposed to gain armor, even more of a sin than it being off-class flavor. It's really bad to have a cheap legendary spell. And you'll notice that none of the spells that were legendary in Boomsday did this, because you can't reliably draw it early. There were no cheap legendary spells that relied on your deck to draw early. This card you clearly want to play early, and then you want to play a bunch of overload cards and gain the benefit over time. Design 1 star. And while it's like a card that I'll never see play, I still evaluate it based off of balance. It's like, yeah, okay, 5-star balance. So there you have it. That's this week's Custom Hearthstone Cards of the Week.